Thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to quickly go over our advocacy tools. So if you haven't had a drink yet, maybe you want to go grab a drink, but I'll try and make this as non-dry as possible. So yeah, whilst you're watching, if you come up with any questions about your advocacy campaigns or potential advocacy campaigns, please put them in Slido, and we can have a chat about that afterwards. Okay, so. This is what I'm specifically going to talk about, things that you might not have used before. I know that some of our speakers have already talked about using these tools, which is great, so that's why I'm not going to labor too long over it. So first, we're going to talk about reference data. So did everyone watch CATS protection yesterday? Yes, an excellent example of using reference data. So hopefully you're all familiar with what that's about. So I'm just going to talk about technically how you can use it. So that's sending messages that includes target-specific data that you have uploaded to your campaign. So they talked about this yesterday. So you go to your page admin settings, and then in the target settings, there's a button to manage your reference data. And that gives you then a download with all your different databases that you have in your account. So in this example, I'm just going to use our Westminster MP. So we're targeting MPs. And then you get the download file. And this will give you a list of all of your MPs and their constituency. So, and you'll see also some of these like Uxbridge, are vacant, which is such a shame. So you've got 10 reference columns to fill. So obviously, for the vacant seats, don't do that, but we supply it to you anyway. And this is just so you can keep it up to date as you're running your campaign, and you've got 10 different types of data you can upload. So I've just randomized some percentages. So in my campaign, we're talking about like the difference, the kind of percentage differences in your constituency. So that's obviously specific to a constituency. Your supporter might not necessarily know this data, so you're just supplying it for them. And then you go back to Engaging Networks and you say, yep, okay, got it, and upload your CSV file, make sure that you're mapping it to the correct database and give it a name. And then you get this menu where you can download your CSV file. So, you know, maybe the person that did this is on leave or something. You can go download the CSV. You don't need to be like, oh, where is the file? And then you can re-upload it with new updates as your campaign is running. Then you go into your target block, where you've written your letter to your MP for your supporters to send, and you use these little blue buttons up in the corner to insert user data, so that's the supporters data, question data, contact data, and then the reference data. So those are 4 different types of data inserts that you can do. And then these will just self-populate once the page is actually loaded. So for the supporter, they've filled in the form, they get taken to page 2 where the letter to their MP, and you can see here, in this case, it's pre-populated with like the constituency, and it's pre-populated with a percentage that's specific to this constituency, and all the work has been done for the supporter. They can just crack on, and it makes the letter a bit more useful to the MP. It's not just generic, it's actually like something that they can actually take into account and action. So obviously CATS protection talked about that, it was amazing. So next thing I'm going to talk about is custom databases. So this was using one of the databases that Engaging Networks manages. This is for one of those cases where we don't have a database for you to use, but you have the data and you want to build your own database. So this includes using a match field on your form that your supporter then selects. You know, they identify themselves using this match field, which then chooses the target based on the database that you upload. So I'll show you how you do that. So first things first, we create our match field. I'm doing something here using UK counties. So I've created a field in my data structure for county, and I've put it in my form block. And then I'm making a drop-down select so that they can then select whatever county they're from. Hopefully they know what county they're from. If you find that that's an issue, then we can sort that out as well. Have a chat with me. We've got like a lookup kind of thing. You then go to your target settings, and either if you've got something already made, you go select, but otherwise go to upload and click next when you're ready to upload it. And we supply a template file for you to download, and there's some information there to help you just kind of get on with it. So once you've downloaded that, this is the structure that you need to then fill in. So you can see in column H, you've got your match field. So that's where you would list, in this case, UK counties. So I just created some fictitious data. So here we go. We've got some fictitious people that you want to target based on whichever county that they're working in. And once you've got that, you then go back to engaging networks and you then proceed to upload it. It's all like step by step. It should be really, really simple. And then you get taken to the mapping section. And this is where it's important. So you've already created your county field. So in the match field, you would then say map that to county. And then you select the little radio button to say, yep, this is the one that I want the page to process as the match field. And then you go back to your form block and you would then put your counties into the drop-down select. And this is where it's really important. Make sure that the value of your drop-down select is exactly what it is in your database, because it will be matching based on the value, right? So this is important when your field might have like a space or a lowercase or something like that. So this is really important. People get really tripped up on that. So yeah, you can paste that in, save it, and then here's my, my fake action. So I would have selected Greater London from the drop-down select, and that will then find my correct target based on what I've submitted. And then it's all easy from there. So it's really straightforward. Next thing that you might not be using that's really, really powerful is message swapping. I'm sure people have been talking about this already because I've heard a few people talking about this. But so if you want to create alternative messages that get sent out to your MPs or to your target, not necessarily MPs, you can add up to 10 alternative messages using the little plus button. And then you've got two options. Use this message on rotation. So you could create a whole bunch of messages and then just have them set to be sent on rotation so that the target isn't just receiving the same old message again and again, especially if you've got hundreds of supporters all sending the same message. Someone mentioned yesterday they're all just gonna, the target's just gonna put them in a folder and not bother. So you can create a bit of variety and that increases the chances of them opening and engaging. And then you can also assign a processing rule. So this is this determines which message is sent based on the rule. So you got three options based on what the supporter submits on page 1, what the database returns based on the supporter's postcode, or a specific contact that is returned from the postcode. So in this case, we've chosen organisation, which for the Westminster MP one, which is like one of the most popular ones, organisation is just what we call it. It's actually the constituency. And you can then click the little pencil, and that will give you a list of all the constituencies, and you can just tick them off and search for them, and it's really, really easy. Okay, so that's email to target over. I'm going to go through click to call, which has very little uptake here in the UK. So I'm just going to talk to you because you might not have considered it as an option. So you need a Twilio integration. The supporter submits their detail, including their phone number, and then they receive a call back. They answer it, and then they get connected to their target. So you create a click to call page. It's got all these settings that you can configure, like what time that they're allowed to call and what days. And this is all pre-built for you, so you go in and you've got your call contact block on your page 2. So you can configure what the contact details look like when they're ready to go, and when they're happy to proceed, the confirmation message. So you can control all of that. And then also script guidance, so you can then say, right, when they pick up the phone, could you please mention this, that, and the other? Because sometimes people get a little bit of phone fright and forget everything that they want to say. And you can also change the connecting message as well. And then once they've completed that and they're happy with their call, they can then leave a message for you to read about, oh yeah, I spoke to my MP and he was horrible and it was terrible. So you can get a bit of feedback on that as they submit. And also on the final page, there's a block for you to configure all of that. So you can control everything about the page so that the supporter feels supported by you as they do this for you. Because I find a lot of the time people are a bit daunted by taking telephone calls. So yeah, this is all built for you, so it's as seamless as possible. Okay, right, so redirect and filter. People have already talked about using redirect and filters for their campaigns, which is great. So I'm just going to talk to you about how this can be really powerful, because you don't have to just have one campaign that everyone has to go through. You can create like a journey for people to to flow through. It doesn't have to just be rigid. And using the redirect and filter is really powerful for that. So if you don't know where it is, it's on your toolbar in Page Builder under Processing Rules. Click on that, and you get all these options, and you can create all of these different redirects and then organize them based on priority as well. So you've got the option, again, supporter submits the page. So based on what they put on page 1, you can then say, actually, we'd prefer you to go to a different page. Using the database, using what contacts are returned, but also you can say if contacts are returned that you don't want to be contacting, suppress them as well. So that's really, really good for email to targets. If you've got some targets in your database that you don't want your supporters to contact, you can use that as well. A lot of people don't realize that that's there. And then, so this is something that trips up a lot of people. In our databases, we have biography field, and they're in this case, biography 7 is the region. And this is really useful for advocacy campaigners in the UK, because sometimes your campaigns are nation-specific. So in this case, I've said this campaign is only for supporters that are campaigning in Scotland. So if you've got supporters in the rest of the UK, you might want to redirect them somewhere else to a campaign that's more specific for England, Wales, or Northern Ireland. And you would create a static page or something for this redirect to work and send them to instead. So I did make a little video. Let's see if that works. Just to kind of show you, the resolution isn't great, but the idea is you can see we've got this page number up here, and then I get taken to a different page number over there when the redirect kicks in. So you can kind of see how seamless that is for the supporter. But yeah, just bear that in mind. And if you think you might need that, the biography 7, pop that in the subportal, and the article will show you exactly what it is to do step by step. No, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the political tools. Did anyone use the political tools from the legacy tool way back when? Okay, a couple of, yeah. Okay, so, and are you aware now that we have moved these to the current dashboard? Yeah, okay, great. So it looks a little bit different, but it looks like most people aren't familiar with the old tools, so this should be fresh. So this is useful for when you want data from a database to be populated into the supporter's record, and then you can then query based on that data and extract your supporters based on that data. And also just a reminder that this runs overnight, so I get a lot of support calls saying, oh, I need to send an email today and it needs to be based on constituency, and unfortunately then you have to delay your email because you won't be able to map the constituency until tomorrow. So it's now under data and reports, so even though part of it is email, it is under data and reports. And then you just you click new mapping, you choose which database you want to do. We have a whole bunch of databases that you can map with, so have a look at our list on the supportal. And then you choose which fields in your data structure that you want this data mapped to. So in this case, you can see district is going to be like the constituency. You might want to create a field in your data structure for constituency, and then set that up here where it says unmapped, click on the drop down, pick constituency, and then run the mapping. There's two options, only run for new supporters or modified supporters. So if the supporter is brand new today, they'll get mapped, or if the supporter has done something today and their record is modified today, it'll get run. Or you can run it over the entire database, which is useful in case some of your supporters might have moved house or something like that and their postcode has changed. And you hit save and let that run. You don't have to map every single one of these database values. So it's really, really powerful, and it's really simple to use. And then the other side of that is broadcasts. So this is sending an email broadcast from your organization rather than from your supporters to the contacts in a database. So if you wanted to email MPs from your organization saying, hi, we're this organization and we need you to attend this event, or we need you to speak up about this or that, or whatever it is that you need them to do. This is really straightforward. So you go data and reports and click on political email. You click new political email and it pops up with this. You just fill that out. You can see that you can customize it. You can insert their contact data. and set the senders. So if you've got someone specific, like a CEO that you want to send it to, you can do that. And then you're just given sort of a plain, what you see is what you get kind of editor. So you might have some email HTML that you want to pull over, build something really nice. You can add links, you can add sort of evocative images, do whatever you need to do. And you can see down here there's some tips as well that say you can insert contact data, you can insert campaign links that will have like tracking and all sorts. And you can also add like social media buttons and stuff. And then you click on the test button when you're ready. You can send that to yourself. Just make sure everything's looking good and all the links work. And there's this option for not populating the contact data values. And then when you're happy with that, you can get ready to send it. Make sure you choose the correct database, and then you can choose either to just send it to everyone, or you can choose to filter it down. So, for example, oh yeah, and it gives you a preview of how many people there are. For example, you may want to only send to one party if you're sending to Westminster MP database. So you would then go, okay, so choose a filter that says if party equals, and then you can go and pick your party. There's a party for engaging networks there. So we have some contacts in that database. So if you ever wanted to test something, we can do that for you as well. And then you've got some other filters like excluding specific contacts or only including specific contacts. And there's your refresh button to do a sanity check. Make sure that you're not about to send your email to the wrong number of people. Just think for a moment, just think, oh yes, 172, that sounds about right. And then do a final check. Make sure you've set everything up, the sender is correct, the subject is correct, etc. And then you can go, once it's sent, you can then come back a few days later, have a look at your reporting, and it gives you just a basic breakdown of the kind of thing you'd expect with a download to see what happened with your email. Okay, cool. So that was an advocacy whirlwind. I'm just going to point you to our support page. So bookmark that. And also our academy, which is free. So you should all have an academy profile, even if you're not necessarily using it right now. You should have a profile just because it's useful to go back and have a look at some tutorials. Everything that I've talked about has tutorials, which is always, if you've got 10 minutes to spare. And then obviously if you need help with anything, there's our support email address, and feel free to drop us an email for anything. And that includes if you want to have, a Zoom chat to chat about advocacy strategy and stuff like that. Cool. All right, that's me done. Yeah, no. So I think CADS Protection talked about this. Yeah, if there is a change in MP, then the reference database needs to be re-downloaded and re-uploaded, because you're essentially just taking a snapshot. That CSV is not going to magically update. It can't tell. It's a CSV. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a sort of static database.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can you? Yeah. What is contact data? That's you had the blue button.
Yeah, so the contact data is the data belonging to the target in that database. So we call them contacts. We also call them targets. So in that case, if you were inserting contact data organization, you'd be inserting that MP's constituency, or contact data first name, that would be the MP's first name. So it's just contact data is just what we call the targets.
And 4 more questions. Can you use the same Twilio connection for SMS as well as click-to-call? Do you know?
That's a good one. I don't think so. SMS, I'm not
We'll
sure.
get back to you on that one.
Yeah, that's one to get.
Find out.
I'm pretty sure if you want SMS, you have to. Yeah, the messaging is separate to the click-to-call. So you would need to, from the Twilio side, I'm not sure if you have to create a whole extra account, but you would have to go speak to Twilio about setting up SMS separately to talking to Twilio about setting up click-to-call.
Thanks. And for message swapping, can you use a message swapping filter for if you want to send a different version of the email to, say, vulnerable supporters? So I guess maybe from a question or something.
So hang on, let me say that again.
So it's asking for message swapping in a target block.
If you want to send a different version of an email to vulnerable supporters, for example. Okay, so So if you had a category of vulnerable supporters, they would need to somehow identify that on page 1, and then you would use the filter, the supporters submitted, etc. So yeah, it could be doable, but you need to, we could maybe chat about how you would clarify that a supporter is vulnerable or not. So feel free to come up and have a chat with me. We can talk about that, because it depends. It depends what your strategy is.
An easier one, I think. So for an ETT, can you sort of swap the message depending on the supporter's MP's party?
Yes, so that would be, you would say the database returns a value of, and then you'd scroll down, party equals, and then you'd get a list of all the different parties, and you just tick which parties it is that you want to filter, and then let the system do the rest.
Thanks. And the final question from Stefan. Has there been any feedback about the response from MPs' offices about the use of click-to-call?
So unfortunately, click-to-call in this country hasn't had much uptake at all. So if you guys want to have a go, we'd love to support you and sort of see how it's received. So we haven't had any negative or positive feedback. So I can't really comment on that, but we'd love to see it kick off in this country.
There's a couple of people in the audience, actually.
Okay.
Have an idea?
It was just a follow-up about the click-to-call. Do you have data for councillors for that as well, or is it just MPs?
Click-to-call with, I think so. Yeah, we have councillor databases. Are they configured for click-to-call?
I don't think we have all the phone numbers.
No, not all the phone numbers, yeah. There is a list on the supportal of which databases are covered. So it's worth just having a quick look there. There's a few, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just so many councillors. I'm not sure we've...
Exactly, yeah. It's tens of thousands, yeah.
Was there someone else in the audience? Oh, yeah. Okay, final question, I think.
It was only in relation to the click-to-call stuff we were just talking about. I assume with the click-to-call you can only arrange it for each person to call one target. It's not a case that they could be calling round targets.
So just, sorry, to clarify, you mean your supporter...
Yeah. So like if your supporter logs into it, they just get one person to call, right?
So it depends on the database. So if you've got a database that returns multiple targets, you then get an option. So there's like, you can call this person, or this person, and then the supporter can pick which one they want to call. And then they receive their phone call, they hang on, it then connects them, they'll hear the phone ringing on the other end, and then it will connect them to whoever it is that they picked on the screen. Cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for listening.